In the headlines, former Governor El-Rufai cautions ECOWAS against military action in Niger. EFCC prosecutor frowns at continued detention of suspended EFCC chairman Abdurrashid Bawa. Libya repatriates 161 Nigerian refugees in UN-backed scheme. And on the foreign scene, African Union suspends membership of Niger Republic until civilian rule is restored. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thank you for joining us, and now the news in details. The former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, has cautioned the economic community of West African states against military intervention in Niger Republic. The ECOWAS defense chiefs had on Thursday pledged readiness to participate in a standby force that would restore democracy in Niger after generals toppled and detained President Mohamed Bazoum. In a statement via X, formerly known as Twitter, El-Rufai said, as ECOWAS beats the drums of war. I recall the 1970s rock classic by Dire Straits, Brothers in Arms, because a war within our sub-region is a war between brothers. Indeed, the people of Niger Republic are one and the same with those living in the northern Nigeria. Niger's presidential guard, led by Abdurrahmani Tichani, toppled President Mohamed Bazoum on July 26, prompting ECOWAS to give the junta 7 days ultimatum to reinstate the president or face sanctions, including military action. A senior lawyer and prosecutor with the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, Rotimi Jacobs San, has joined the call for the release of the suspended EFCC chairman Abdurrashid Bawa. Now, Bawa has been detained since June 14th and remained in the custody of the security agency. In a statement, the senior advocate of Nigeria, San, cited relevant provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, bordering on remand order to show that the continued detention of Bawa could no longer be justified in law. According to Jacobs, the maximum period in which a suspect can be detained in Nigeria through a remand order is 56 days, but Bawa had been in the detention for 68 days, contrary to the rule of law. Jacobs said this must be condemned by the lovers of democracy. The senior lawyer's call comes after human rights lawyer Femi Falana made similar calls for Bawa's release in the absence of formal charge. The remains of Flight Lieutenant Ibrahim Adamu Abubakar, pilot of the NAF M1 or MI-171 helicopter that crashed in Niger State, penultimate Monday, has been laid to rest after a funeral prayer in Zaria. The prayer at Haruna Danjuma Jumaat Mosque in Zaria, led by the chief imam of the mosque, Sheikh Mohammed Sani Gumi, which was well attended by family members and hundreds of mourners from all walks of life. A team of the Nigerian Air Force personnel who escorted the corpse also joined the prayers, including women relation of the deceased. Now, the flight Lieutenant Ibrahim Adamu Abubakar died during a casualty evacuation mission when the helicopter crashed near Chukuba village in Niger State. Abubakar Adamu, an elder brother of the deceased, explained that the family had earlier performed a funeral prayer in absentia for the deceased when they could not receive the corpse of the late pilot. He said that they concluded that they might not see the corpse of late Ibrahim. Therefore, the family decided to conduct a funeral prayer for the deceased in absentia, which was observed last Thursday as ordained by Islam. Adamu, however, stated that since the corpse had been discovered and released to the family, it became mandatory to perform another funeral prayer for the deceased. Moving on, the Enugu State Police Command says that it has killed 2 members of a kidnapping gang terrorizing the state. Now, this was contained in a statement on Monday night by the command's spokesperson, DSP Daniel Ndukwe. According to him, the kidnappers were shot dead during a gun battle with men of the police command while the abducted victim was rescued. Ndukwe noted that the operation was carried out by a combined team of the police operatives. In health, the Medical and Dental Consultants Association of Nigeria, the MDCAN, has issued a 21-day ultimatum to the federal government to implement the upward review of the Consolidated Medical Salary Structure, the CONMES, and other demands. In a communique issued on Monday after its National Executive Council meeting, the association said it could no longer guarantee the present relative industrial harmony within the public hospitals and medical schools if the issues were not satisfactorily resolved. The communique was signed by the president of the association, Victor Makanjuola, and the Secretary General, Yemi Raji. The association said it observed with dismay the non-implementation of the jointly agreed upward review of CONMES and the introduction of accoutrement allowance with the Nigerian Medical Association, the NMA. The MDCAN also demanded the immediate implementation of the upward review of age retirement of 70 years for consultants and 65 years for other health workers as an immediate measure to bridge the ongoing massive brain drain. It called on the government to, as a matter of urgency, resolve all the contending issues with the National Association of Resident Doctors and also ensure the safety of MDCAN members and other Nigerians while effecting the immediate and safe release of those currently held captive by kidnappers. Libya has returned 161 Nigerians to their country as part of a United Nations-backed voluntary repatriation scheme amid a spike in irregular migration in North Africa. Reports indicate that the group, about half of whom were women and also included 6 children, was assisted at an airport in Tripoli by the United Nations International Organization for Migration, the IOM, and arrived in Lagos on Monday night. Libyan and Nigerian representatives met the people before their departure, which is one of about a dozen transports taking place this year. The North African neighbors on August 10th agreed to share responsibility for providing shelter for hundreds of people stranded at their border, potentially signaling an end to a crisis triggered by mass expulsions of refugees by Tunis. Now, tension is brewing in Tudunwada community of Shandam local government area of Plateau State on Tuesday, following when a bulldozer arrived for planned demolition of houses in the area. A team of police officers and mobile policemen also arrived to the community in Hilux buses. Ado Musa completes the report.
By the police officers to disperse the angry protesters. Men, women and children were seen protesting when they saw the police officers and the bulldozer in the community. The community decried seizure of their land and houses, a situation that led the Inspector General of Police to order the State Commissioner of Police to investigate the matter. The community accused the former Commissioner for Land and Survey, Festus Fonter, of championing the exercise, an allegation that the former commissioner said was a case between Fonter family and 3 others, which he claimed that a court in the state had granted them the ownership of the land, but the community denied this claim. We were at home this morning when we saw police officers arrive the community in their numbers. Some minutes after, an excavator was brought and uploaded from a trailer. The situation was shocking. This land belongs to my father. He owns the land for the past 60 years. We built our houses for many years. Nobody claimed the land until now. We are not going anywhere. We were taken unaware today in our community. I was in the market when news came to me that police had come to demolish our houses. I have to rush to the house to see what was happening. When I arrived the community, I saw women and children crying. The entire community was thrown into confusion. This is not the first time they are coming. The spokesperson of the State Police Command, DSP Alabo Alfred, is yet to comment on the development. Ado Musa, Trust TV News, Jos.
The The federal government said it may demolish no fewer than 30 illegal settlements and slums and over 6,000 illegal buildings in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, as part of measures to restore the nation's capital's master plan. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, who dropped the hint on resuming office on Monday, said all illegal buildings distorting the Abuja master plan would be pulled down. Wike vowed to flatten all illegal buildings, even if they belong to a minister or an ambassador. Reports indicate that the slums that might be affected by the urban renewal program would include Apo Mechanic Village, Bianzin, Dawaki, Deidei, Durumi, Dusi, Gariki Village, Gishiri, Gwagwalape, Idu, Jabi, Kado Village, Karmo, Karishi, Karu, Katampe, Bana Village, Kubwa, Lokogoma, Lugbe, amongst others. Also, those who acquired lands from Abuja indigents may lose their investment as they were regarded by the FCT administration as illegal. You're watching News Update on Trust TV. Coming up, we'll take a look at we take a look at mixed reactions over federal government's food palliative. This and more after the break. Stay with us.
Sounds like you're disappointed with the current lot.
We are outside, me and you. Regardless, we could have done better.
That you don't have to sacrifice your conviction. We cannot settle for what is bad.
I sacked a governor because of misappropriating 300,000 naira.
The clamor by the NCSC was a unitary form of government. This doesn't go well with Savannah. So when we said we wanted self-government for Nigeria and NTCs, so look, count me out.
What you call goal, aims and directives. But the issue of joining politics simply because you want to be given job or to be given contract.
Removing the assumptions, the foundations of their fears, and at the end of it, each and every one of them seems to surprise.
I was posted to Gwachuku. My job was to go from community to community, educating the people how to improve themselves. Government will come to help you.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is News Update on Trust TV. Here's a recap of our top stories. We brought you former Governor El Rufai cautions ECOWAS against military action in Niger. An EFCC prosecutor frowns at continued detention of suspended EFCC chairman Abdurrashid Bawa. Now, And moving on to more stories, residents of Yenagoa, the Bayelsa state capital, have expressed mixed feelings over the 5 billion naira given to the state to cushion the effect of the fuel subsidy removal, saying the money should be used for that purpose and not divert the money for personal use. Now, others said that the money should be put into projects that will benefit everyone instead of sharing peanuts to the people. A human rights activist, David West, said the state government should utilize the money for the purpose it was given for. However, a renowned environmental activist, Maurice Alagua, said the 5 billion naira should be invested in projects that people will benefit from, like marine transport system and the power sector in this state.
If the government receives the 5 billion, the purpose for which the 5 billion naira was voted for should be what expressly or explicitly it should be used for. Let us not hear that it was used to give to so people, or it was used for one project to complete. No, we don't want to hear that. This is subsidy removal palliative grants given to the state. And not also forget, the state is going to pay about 32% or something thereabout of this same money.
Yesterday, I heard that the Bayelsa state government has, as a result of this 5 billion naira, increased or augmented the salary or allowances of civil servants, maybe the local government and state civil servants. That is not bad, but you know that Bayelsa state is not made up of only civil servants. What is the percentage of civil servants compared to the entire population of Bayelsa state?
The residents of Osun State have faulted the federal government for sending bags of rice to state to cushion the effects of economic hardship caused by fuel subsidy removal. They appealed to the federal government to use the money recovered from the fuel subsidy removal to build refineries rather than sharing rice among Nigerians. Hamid Oyegbade files the report.
The current economic hardship in Nigeria has subjected many people in the country to hunger and suffering. In a bid to cushion the effect of the economic hardship, the federal government sent bags of rice to state governments for distribution to the poor. But for Remi Adekunle and Fele Asho, sharing rice cannot be the solution to the hardship and suffering in the country.
So they should help us to build the refineries. They should not share the food for us. We don't need their food. What we need from them is to use the money to build the refineries for us so that the price of the petrol will go down. Everybody will benefit from that one.
You guys cannot serve as adequate palliative for Nigerians. Nigerians are so hungry more than all this rice distribution. How many bags of rice are given to the states? How many bags of rice will the state distribute to each family?
Keeping that rice is just a mere wasting of time. We saw what happened during the NSAS. Some palliative were given to state government. They kept it. A lot of them got spoiled.
The total number of rice allocated to Osun State happened to be 3,050 kg rice. And out of which we have received 2,400 so far.
The residents advised both the federal and state government to devise strategies to stabilize the economy for the betterment of all Nigerians. Hamid Oyegbade, Trust TV News, Osogbo.
The Borno State Governor, Babagana Zulum, has provided palliatives for 300,000 households, supplementing the effort of the federal government to aid 100,000 households. Now, Zulum made the announcement on Tuesday as he began distributing palliatives to disadvantaged homes on behalf of the federal government. He explained that the Borno's case is peculiar since returnees still did not have full access to their farmlands after some parts had been destroyed by the insurgency. Zulum said that every home in rural parts of the local government areas hit by the insurgency will benefit, noting that 2,000 vulnerable people will be chosen in each ward for the palliative, notably in metropolitan places like Maiduguri. And now from the foreign scene, the African Union on Tuesday suspended membership of Niger Republic until civilian rule in the country is restored and will assess the implications of any armed intervention in the troubled Sahel nation. AU said the Peace and Security Council requests the AU Commission to undertake an assessment of the economic, social and security implications of deploying a standby force in Niger and report back to Council following strong differences on the matter. The AU last week held a meeting on the crisis against the backdrop of divergent views within the bloc over any military intervention. The coup has heightened international worries over the Sahel with activities of insurgents linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group. Niger is the fourth nation in West Africa since 2020 to suffer a coup following Burkina Faso, Guinea and Mali. Thousands of opposition supporters in bright yellow regalia thronged the duty Robert Mugabe Square in Harare, the Zimbabwean capital, to hear Nelson Chamisa's final address ahead of Wednesday's general elections. The 45-year-old lawyer and pastor is nearly half the age of his main competitor, President Emmerson Mnangagwa, who is 80, who says that he needs more time to transform Zimbabwe into a middle-income economy. A former liberation fighter, Mnangagwa gained power in 2017 by overthrowing his predecessor, Robert Mugabe, in a coup. Chamisa, a former lawmaker and cabinet minister, is campaigning to create a new great Zimbabwe for everyone with a much improved economy and his Citizens Coalition for Change, the CCC, voted into power. Despite being up against Mnangagwa and the governing ZANU-PF, which has been in power since independence in 1980, he is confident that the CCC will win Wednesday's presidential, parliamentary and council elections. In the intensely contested 2018 election, Chamisa lost to Mnangagwa, who secured 50.8% votes by a margin of 6.5%. 6 people were killed by the army in an attempt to disperse protesters who were agitated by the delayed release of the presidential and parliamentary results in Harare. The court upheld Mnangagwa's victory, but Kudakwashe Marizani, 43, a factory worker, believes that Chamisa will be victorious this time. Now let's take a short break, and when we come back, the news continue. Stay with us. Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. Now in sports, Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola is set to miss his team's next 2 Premier League matches after undergoing back surgery. Now, Guardiola, 52, had been suffering with what City said was severe back pain and traveled to Barcelona for an emergency but minor operation. City go to Sheffield United on Sunday and host Fulham on 2nd September at Etihad Stadium. Guardiola is expected to return to duty after the international break. Assistant manager Juan Malilo will take over first team training and lead from the touchline during matches in Guardiola's absence. Guardiola guided the club to the Premier League, FA Cup and their first Champions League title last season. City sits second in the Premier League in the early stages of this campaign, level on 6 points with leaders Brighton and Arsenal in third after beating Burnley and Newcastle in the opening 2 games. They also won the UEFA Super Cup by beating Europa League winners Sevilla 5-4 on penalties in Athens. And finally, undisputed super middleweight boxing champion Savannah Marshall has signed with the Professional Fighters League to compete in MMA. The 32-year-old Briton, who has agreed a multi-year deal with the American promotion, has 13 wins from 14 boxing bouts, but to no MMA experience. African boxers Amanda Serrano and Clarissa Shields have also signed deals with the PFL. Now, Marshall and Shields have a long history, having fought in the amateur and pro ranks. The only defeat on Marshall's professional record came against Shields when they met for the undisputed middleweight title in London in October. Shields, 28, has 1 loss and 1 in MMA. The PFL says that it intends to launch a women's league featuring Serrano, Shields, and 2-time PFL lightweight champion Kayla Harrison. And with that, we wrap up News Update on Trust TV. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thanks for watching.